Hello, neighbors. Oh,
And then notice a delay or latency on both of them. So
mhm.
Okay.
Working?
Yep. You're live.
Hello, neighbors. Okay, sorry about that. It's our first time doing this and trying to use cameras and streaming from Facebook and also to YouTube because we've had so many people reach out and say, "Why aren't you on Facebook?" And I admit it, I'm terrible about doing Facebook, but I want to reach out to all of you and make sure that you can all see everything that's happening. So let's wait for you guys to hop on here and we're going to get into all kinds of things tonight. So I have Garrett Smith here, our candidate for city treasurer.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
There's Garrett over there. Um, so we have my handy dandy husband doing the switchback between the two of us. So if there's a delay, we'll fire him. Don't worry. um, all right. So first things first, I want to introduce Garrett. His name's Garrett Smith. He's also on the board for me with the Old Town Preservation Association. So he heads up special events and helps plan awesome events in the city, like the tour that we just did, where we went and toured the Sunlight Theater and the Wells Fargo building. Anyway, it was awesome. I'm sure he'll be planning much more of those. And yeah, he's an all around great family man, lives right here in Old Town. And he's kind of my, if you think about Wizard of Oz, like there's no place like Orange, he's kind of my, wizard behind the curtain that helps me with a ton of stuff and is very involved in the city. But many of you probably don't know him. So I want you to have the time to get to do that. And okay, let's start off. First things first, Garrett, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me tonight. So yeah, as Brandy said, Garrett Smith, born and raised in Southern California, grew up in a small town in the high desert called Apple Valley. Um, I have an older brother, older sister. The Kind of flash forward without going into too many details. Started my college career here locally at Chapman University. My background, as many of you may have seen, I actually am a classically trained oboist. I originally went to school for music. After a few years doing auditions, traveling around, doing all that stuff, I thought of a backup plan and had always been kind of financially businessy, all of those words minded, I suppose, and ended up moving out to Chicago for a financial analyst internship. Um, that was a little over 10 years ago, and that was kind of where it all started. From that point, I had great mentors, CFOs, leadership on the financial space, a lot of varying projects from budgets, forecasting, analysis, building Excel models. You name it, I've probably done it over the last 10 years or so. And now, kind of flash forward to today, my primary job is in the financial analytics space for a food company. It's called Selena USA. We make custom flavors for most, if not all, of your kind of fast food, fast casual restaurants. Taco Bell's, Pizza Hut's, a Pollo Loco, Olive Garden, Chili's, to name a few. And I'm kind of the guy in the background making sure that our budgets line up, that our forecasts are right, that we have the right, the right people doing the right things, and overall, the business is ultimately successful. Um, Live right here locally, right here in Old Town. Really fortunate to own a home just a few blocks away from Brandy. Um, couldn't love it anymore. We're actually looking to move to Orange for probably like a year and a half, I would say. Looked at a few homes, some we liked, some we didn't, and then got really lucky to find the house that we're in. And it's really a forever home. I have two young kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, two boys at home. So that keeps me pretty busy aside from the stuff that I help Brandy out with and the different involvement that I have in the city. And, love being involved and don't ever see myself leaving Orange, and just have a really soft spot for Orange as a whole, and looking forward to kind of keeping that going.
Wonderful. Okay, something that you mentioned that I really, really love that just in listening to you is a lot of times I run around the town and do all this stuff, and there aren't a lot of young people. Okay, I'm calling myself young. I'm not that young. I'm 41. But but there aren't a lot of people that are Garrett and I's age that are out here doing this and helping and being involved and having a voice because we have families, right? Like this is our forever city. We're going to be here till the day we both drop dead together. He has a wonderful, incredible, supportive wife, which, clearly I have a supportive husband that lets me do all this. Um, but I think it's so important if you have any desire to get involved. We need you. We need young people that care. And I'm sick of seeing the same folks that do things that are not so great for this town, right? Like we need young people to help and step up. So that means you send me a DM if you want to help get involved. And so, with your financial background, let's get into why in the world would you want to run for city treasurer? It's like a death sentence, I feel like. Why would you want to run for city treasurer with the gigantic budget deficit that we're in and the mess that we all see happening in our beautiful city?
Great question. And yeah, quick shout out to my wife. I think she might be on putting the
Oh.
kids to bed. So thank you. I appreciate you. Um, yeah. So um, I think everybody knows that's watching and that will watch. The city's in a fairly unique financial situation. Um, I would say probably close to a year ago, maybe a little less. Once I started hearing about that and some of the rumblings and things that were coming up, just me kind of having with the background, I started doing some of my own digging, just online with things that you can get. That's all public information. After kind of going through some of the old records and doing all that, which those are the things that I enjoy, I started thinking like, I wonder if there's an opportunity to kind of share this with the community, and I think I'm probably not the only one that is interested in that information. So then kind of flash forward to February, March, budget comes out, then there's even more questions and things that come up. I have, as Brandy mentioned, a great support system and other, friends here in the community that had, uh, I guess, backed me at that time, and was like, "Yeah, you should totally go for it. The current treasurer's not running again. Totally give it a shot." So, although corporate finance and municipal finance is slightly different, there is some similarities and some crossover. Um, I feel like I, have the background, I have the kind of the grit, and I'm not afraid to get up there and take one for the team if that's needed. But yeah, I just kind of felt like there was a need for it, and I have the experience in the background um, to get the job done. So that was kind of what initially prompted me to go down this lovely journey.
This rabbit hole. Um, so what if you were to okay, so let's just say you win for city treasurer. What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Yeah, so I have a couple kind of goals and initiatives. One thing that I think is somewhat lacking at the moment, we really only get or we get minor financial and budget updates in kind of the current landscape. I'd like to bring back, something if not bi-monthly, maybe every month, with just a something more, a brief update, but something to just give the taxpayers and those individuals who put all the city council members up there, and myself and everybody else, just some more insight into um, what the real landscape is that we're looking at, and how did the previous month look? What are we looking forward to this next month? How is the investment portfolio looking? Some various things there. So that I think is one thing that will provide more insight, more accountability, transparency, which is something that I know we all need, from the city, and as we move forward to hopefully get out of this deficit, um, as kind of my one main goal there.
Do you think too okay, I know so many people wanted an audit. We really, kind of fought for that at city council and saying, "Please, give us an audit," and unfortunately, that did not pass. So they, the majority of the council did not go back and do the audit. Is that something that you could get in there and do to try to help build some of the transparency with the public? I know the city knows the reason that we're here. I went through all of our the budget since 2008, and I could see while we were there, and it's very confusing and convoluted, and also very surprising to see that we have not had a balanced budget since 2008, and we have just um kind of really like what everybody says, like we just kicked the can down the road, didn't raise any awareness to it, and we just used other things to balance the budget, like, not putting money into um maintenance and all these things that our city so desperately needs, not hiring city staff, not having the vacancies filled with police and fire. So is that something that you could do when you get into that position?
Yeah, I mean, great question, and that's come up from definitely from some of the other residents that I've talked to over the last couple months in this whole process. Um, I mean, as we all know, those type of forensic financial audits do have a cost to them, um, and depending on the firm that you were to use, obviously that cost would vary. But yeah, I think my internal thinking is, yeah, once, assuming that I were to get elected, once I can get in there and get some more transaction level detail, and kind of to your point of how when we see the city council, the meeting agendas, we go through all the staff reports, all of that stuff. There is a lot of information. It can be overwhelming at times. And one of my other goals is to kind of make that a little bit more succinct so that it's easier to digest and it's not page after page of words and then numbers and graphs. Something that makes it a little bit easier to understand. So yeah, I mean, I think ultimately we know for the most part, I think where those deficits and issues came from. Redevelopment funds, COVID money, other things that you mentioned that kind of just filled the buckets while there wasn't something else to go in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. It'll definitely be something that I'll look into and try to address. But that's probably a bigger issue to get like an actual full audit would be something bigger. But yeah, I mean, whatever I can get my hands on as far as looking back and helping out with the community and answering any questions, I'll definitely do that.
Wonderful, exciting to know. I also want to hear from you guys and hear if you have any questions for Garrett. Um, because that's my first time doing this. I don't know how I can see your questions. um,
To the left is YouTube questions. To the right is Instagram questions. Instagram has a slight delay.
oh, okay. I guess Instagram has kind of a slight delay and I can't see them. Okay, definitely the right person for the job. Elect Garrett Smith. Awesome. Okay, I'm reading your comments. They're far away, but I have 2012 vision, guys, so I can see. I have a question for Garrett. All right. Deal Hunter. Ooh, Deal Hunter 2021. I love a deal. What's your question? Uh
There's another one.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you do with the OTPA?
Yeah. So when I got on the board for OTPA, I started as just a special events chair. Now I have, I suppose, been promoted. I'm actually the treasurer for OTPA now, so I kind of double with the some of the special events with Brandy and I, and then also the treasurer responsibilities. So handling our financials on a monthly basis, making sure that our investments that we have are making money and that our bank accounts are healthy and that the expenses are expense reports are being classified correctly and all of that stuff. So kind of similar like a bookkeeper of sorts, but yeah, that's kind of my role there with OTPA.
And just so you guys know, he is so freaking fast. I was planning that gala. That was very painful this year. I couldn't get checks. So now Garrett's our treasurer, and I can call him and say, I need a check for $110 to get the permit submitted to the city so that we can put on treats in the streets. I need a check right now. I'm on my way, and he will have that check ready for me. So he's amazing. He's super responsive. Another question, okay, in regards to the budget is how is the budget going to be balanced? What will the long-term effect of pushing off infrastructure repairs and upgrades be?
Great question. That might not be one that we can answer here, but I mean, I know that they're talking about a lot of different options to balance it. I guess, will it be balanced and how is it going to be balanced? Maybe I could come back to on that a little bit later, but pushing off infrastructure repairs and upgrades. I mean, obviously, yeah, with some of the budget cuts and stuff, unfortunately, there may be some of that. It's hard to say exactly how much at this moment until after, the election and stuff. But um, there, may unfortunately be some long-term effects, but hopefully not too long, and they can be, set up for success here soon.
I don't know how that's gonna happen. But, okay, next question we had is, this has been a real hot topic. So what do you think about the car dealers and what's going on with that?
Another good question. Th- that's also an interesting one. Obviously, the opposition to Measure Z, the sales tax increase, um, a lot more back and forth than I was initially anticipating when this kind of first came around. Um, I mean, I, living in Old Town and being a taxpayer and a resident just like everybody else, I think I have the same thoughts and ideas and things that we all want. Um, the Without a sales tax increase, um, as we all know, then there's going to be more budget cuts and more issues and things down the line. With a sales tax increase, that could potentially help some of that. However, without oversight on the sales tax increase and where that money is actually going, I think is kind of the bigger concern. And again, as I've talked to local residents, that seems to be the commonality is, they're on the fence about it, whether yes or no. But if they're yes, then we want to know where the money's going. If it's a no and it's just going to go straight to the bottom line and it's not going to be for public safety or to help with some of those other things, then I think that kind of the people are on kind of like on the edge of their seat for that. So I think there's more, hopefully more to come with that. But it's an interesting topic, and I mean, I'm curious to see what comes November 5th for sure.
I know. You're gonna have a nightmare on your hands no matter what happens. Okay, question from, Deal Hunter 2021. Garrett, in your personal career, would your execs allow you to run a business in a deficit?
Uh, um, well, I suppose you could start running it, but you're not going to be around for too long because then the business wouldn't be able to support it. I mean, we have I guess, business as a whole, fortunately, I've never been in that position where the business was running in a deficit. However, we have crossed those bridges where a certain customer or client at the time, the deal we may be working on, depending on some of the other outside factors, that particular deal may actually not run a profit, and it's going to be something that's more of a marketing play or something down the road that would have more long-term benefits than the short term. However, with that said, there's other things to compensate that particular loss. So I guess the short answer, no. I mean, obviously, businesses can't run on a deficit like that. Granted, there are reserves and other things in place to help offset, but no. If the execs asked that and that was going to be the game plan, we would have to make some changes and get the numbers to line up.
All right, sounds great. Next question. What other revenue ideas have been put on the table other than the sales tax measure? I haven't heard of any. Actually, we all know that we
Yeah.
need economic development, but I haven't heard of anything. And I did hear about the utility tax that like Irvine has, which you guys heard me discuss that a little bit on Monday. Which that would be a tax we would also have to vote on, be a measure on a ballot, and that would be a tax that would go directly onto your utilities bill. My issue with that is I think it would greatly affect low income families and, with the sales tax, that's people that are going out and shopping, not on groceries or, medicine, but on restaurants and, retail stores. That's where you're going to see the sales tax. Whereas if you have, many folks living in a single family home, there's always going to be somebody there running the electricity, the lights. So I think it would affect lower income families. I would be very much so against utilities tax. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think other than Measure Z and the sales tax increase, there hasn't been a bunch of, or hasn't been too much rumbling of other things. I know from a economic development standpoint, they're trying to make a push on that. Getting other businesses in from other areas to potentially bring in, bring their locations here. Um, the that I think would probably be the only other thing at the moment. But yeah, we haven't seen anything or haven't heard anything about other options at the moment. But that doesn't mean to say that they're not happening behind closed doors, which hopefully they are. But yeah, at the moment, nothing else has come out that I've heard.
The key word there was closed doors, right? We are both currently behind those or on the other side of those closed doors. And I'm so excited for Garrett to hopefully get in here and be able to break this all down for us and bring transparency. Another important question: how many times have you seen our current city treasurer at a city council meeting or anywhere in the city?
Um, I saw him earlier this year at the budget meeting. I think it was February, March. Um, may have been one other time, and I think that was it. Richard, I mean, great guy. I've talked to him a number of times. But yeah, I think the dynamics there are just a little bit different. So yeah, I would say, yeah, one or two times so far.
One One time. Anyway, okay. So in regard to the let's get to on here. Yeah, we do, but with both the sales tax as well as the utility tax, both disproportionately impact low income people, especially when so many families are forced out of Orange already due to the high cost of living. Cost of living is through the roof everywhere, which also brings me to the point, the city has not been able to raise prices clearly, unless we get the sales tax measure passed, but the cost of everything has gone up astronomically. So I'm sure you guys, especially during COVID, I sell pallets. I own a packaging company, and I watched the cost of wood double, triple, quadruple. Things like concrete, where we need to fill potholes. Concrete costs more money, so our costs for things have gone up so substantially at the city. Another example of that is they talked last night about Grijalva Park. We have many folks that go out there and use the basketball courts. Well, because Grijalva was built on a huge gravel pit, that ground is still settling. So they talked about there's a huge gap in the middle of the basketball court that is literally a safety hazard. So I'm so sorry if you guys use the Grijalva basketball courts, but they are now shutting them down, or closing them until we can get the crack fixed. It's being filled currently with like caulking. The cost for the city to do the caulking, because our costs for materials are more expensive, it would cost us $8,000 to repair it, of which it will probably split or settle again. And it would cost us $5,100 to have a contractor go out there and fill it. So it's actually less expensive. And what they're looking at is taking money not out of the general fund, but out of the funds that we have set aside for park improvements. I forget what that fund is called, the CDIF or something. Anyway, it's the fund that we put money into when we ever have any extra money, which is rare. And that would cost $21,000 for us to actually repair it and to resurface the entire basketball court. But until then, basketball court at Grijalva is closed because it's a liability. So very sad about that. But those are the kinds of things that we're going to see if we don't have money to fix. When people say like, will they close parks? I've had that question asked a lot of times. They might not close the park, but they will have to close things like restrooms or basketball courts, things like that. So anyway, long and short of it. Okay. What would you prioritize to keep the culture of Old Town while also sticking to the budget?
Hmm.
That's a tough one. Ooh, I'm glad I'm not
Yeah, I like
running for
that.
treasurer.
Um, well, I mean, so the treasurer itself is an interesting role. I don't have any voting power for any of the measures or the policies that come up. My primary focus will be to provide the insights, get the data, answer any financial questions, work with our investment firm, um, make sure that all the money is managed appropriately and that the filings and everything is done to the highest standard. But in, I guess, kind of with that in mind, I mean, I would definitely be interested in helping out with some of the events. I mean, I know at previous city council meetings, there's always been the topic or the phrase, "That's something that makes orange orange," and there's definitely a lot of those things that we have here, and that's, honestly one of the reasons why, my family and I moved here, was because Orange is such a great community for that type of stuff. Um, so I mean, I'll do everything I can without overstepping my lane to help with that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, financially, depending on the way some of the other stuff goes through the end of the year, it might be tough. But I'll definitely make that an initiative to definitely keep the things in Orange that we all have loved over the years, to keep them around.
I think also for me personally, just to speak about this, I know that some of our most vulnerable in the city would be the senior center, as well as the libraries, because these are people that are going and utilizing the libraries for computers and things like that. Families that may not have a computer at home, kids need to go do their homework. They go and use the library like an after school program, and the library has a ton of incredible programs. So I think the senior center, the libraries, and also the youth center. So they run a day camp at the youth center during the summer while, parents have to go to work, and it's $150 a week, and I could see that being a huge issue as well. I mean, of course they cut all events, which honestly, as heartbreaking as that is for me, I don't know if you guys can see my We Save Treats in the Street sweatshirt that I made, but I think that would be the last thing to come back or the last thing to prioritize. It's like city council said, we can't literally set money on fire for 3rd of July, while we're taking away money from the senior center. So I will be happy to raise funds and do all this for Treats in the Streets forever, I guess, because I don't think the city will be bringing it back. Um, Okay, let's answer another question here. Is there any money in this the money the city can collect from the state from having UC having a hospital in the city? So like the UC Irvines, the hospitals, is there any money that we can get from the state for that?
Um, I don't know the exact answer. I'm sure that that's been looked into. I know that is also a hot topic, is the amount of hospitals that we have here in the city of Orange and the uh, low amount of financial obligation, I suppose, that they have to kind of, um, I guess, contribute at the city level. But definitely something that should be brought up if it hasn't already. There may be some type of grants or other things, that could be possible for that. But yeah, I don't know the exact answer at the moment. But great idea.
Okay. Um, let's see. Garrett is our guy to get answers. He sure is. His ambition, persistence, resilience, and work ethic is second to none. He's got my vote. Is that your mother? No. I saw your mother on there saying that. Okay, let's
I
see.
saw one about being being present at city council meetings, or having the elected officials be more present, and that was also another one on my list too, of, at least being there once a month, and we have them twice a month, but at least being there, just if not just showing my face, even if there's no financial or budget updates that I would be giving, just so that the public and everybody can see me and know that I am there and I am involved and, willing to take any questions or take anything back to the drawing board and come back the next meeting. So yes, for that one, will definitely be more visible, to how it was worded in there.
Yeah, Garrett's usually almost at every city council meeting with me. Sometimes he shows up with Sawyer, his adorable little boy. He's so cute. And Sawyer sits there great in the audience with me. He's really dedicated. Um, Another question I see from Tez Garage in Old Town, which is Hugh. Hi, Hugh. Parking meters in Old Town. Are you for or against them? Dum, dum, dum. This could be the deal breaker.
Um, you know, Growing up, coming here quite often, parking meters were never there. Uh, it's a tough one. I think I don't like them. I think that the 3-hour parking or 2-hour in some areas is sufficient as far as long as we have the parking enforcement that can go around and make sure that they're sticking to that. But um, just another thing that adds to kind of the old town feel. If we were then to put up a bunch of parking meters, it kind of takes away from that historic value um, and kind of the preservation aspect of it. Being the largest historic district in California, I think we need to kind of maintain that. There's already enough restaurants that have tables and chairs outside on the sidewalks. So I think parking meters would be a little bit too much. I'd be curious to see what the revenue numbers would be. Um, if it's something substantial and it makes sense, then possibly. But my initial thought would be no.
Okay, so I was very much so on the no side as well. And then I started hearing from all of the businesses in Old Town. And the issue with that being, well, one, we have no enforcement of it anyway, but you have a lot of the employees that get there early in the morning and park all over the streets because we have no one enforcing the 2 and 3 hour parking rules. And so it's very hard to get in and out of Old Town and find parking. Say you want to just run in and shop for something or get a quick bite to eat. It's impossible, right? Garrett's
Yeah.
lucky enough he can walk there. I usually drive over there. But anyway, so I see to the point of the businesses, they've been wanting something like parking meters. It's been explained to me that they're not gonna necessarily be like the traditional parking meters that we're used to seeing. It'll be more like a, some kind of pretty stand somewhere off to a corner, and you'll pay by phone on your space, and you don't need to go back to add time to the meter. Like, we're 80s kids, right? Oh, no, Garrett's a lot younger than me. But but we're used to having to run back and put another quarter in the meter. It's not like that. It's just on your phone, and you can add time to it. So I completely see both sides of this, and I know the city needs the revenue. So I think if they had parking meters down there and it wasn't as great of an impact and it did benefit the businesses and they were able to make more sales tax for the city. I don't know. That's a very, very tough call. Um, okay, let's ask another question. How would you work with other departments to ensure they adhere to project or to budget constraints?
Um, yeah. So I've had a couple meetings with various city staff, and um, we haven't gone into the specifics as far as what the projects actually look like, but I know they're excited um, to have someone in there to assist with that. I think I'll be honestly as available as I can to help and I'll do as much as I can or as the city will allow. So whatever's needed, whether if it's not even finance related or if it's something on the economic development side or um, anything there in the front office, I'll definitely be a helping hand. And if it's something to help keep on track or if it's extra legwork that's needed, I'm definitely open to doing that.
Also and also, yeah, I could see your question on here on YouTube. Yeah, I believe that's on YouTube. That yes, and as in regards to the events that take place in Orange, I don't think that they are coming back at all, and that includes tree lighting, movies in the park, concerts in the park, um, 3rd of July, treats in the streets. In the foreseeable future, none of those are going to come back. So that's
Mhm.
just what I've been told. So it's very, very sad, but I do believe that, we have quite a bit of, philanthropic groups and nonprofits in the city of Orange that are all willing to step up and help with all this. And I'm a Halloween kid, so I'm always going to help with treats in the streets. Um, which is looking really amazing this year. The banners hung in the plaza. It's for sure happening. And we have all kinds of exciting things out there. We just heard from the Lightsaber Guild. They're going to be doing a performance. I owe quite a bit of you phone calls that have reached out to say they want to help and participate in some way. So I'm super excited about that. Um, okay, another thing I want to get into before we answer more questions. Hot goss, okay? So, I got this in the mail today. Did anyone else get this in the mail? Can you guys see this? This is the, No on Measure Z, um, mailer that came out today, and if you can see on here, we have our wonderful Councilwoman Kathy Tuvaleris in District 3 that just came on here a couple weeks ago and did an interview, And it clearly says on here, it says, I want to make it clear that I will be voting no on this measure at the ballot box, as I believe that there is still work that can be done by the city council to reduce city government spending. Just so you guys know, she did not approve this. And I hope she will be filing with the FPPC, which is who kind of regulates campaigns and campaign funds. And so they sent this out without her permission. So if you received this, just know that Kathy is in favor of the tax. She voted to put the 0.5% tax on the ballot, and they sent this out without her permission. There you go. Anyway, I had to get that out there. And so let's get into city council. Is that okay, Garrett? Because we
Yeah,
just
let's
had
do it.
city council last night.
Yep.
And I want to talk to you about some of the things that we voted on, which one was Grijalva Park being closed, the basketball courts being closed, which was really, really sad. And then the other thing that was the last item on the agenda was in regard to doing a study, because apparently we have to do a study for the rebate program that the it's a resident vehicle incentive program. So city council had a very long discussion. We had a few public comments and people that came out to speak and say, one person came out, Reggie Monikis, and said she was for it, and that she could see the value in it. And we had another guy, Eddie Albright, stand up there and say it's ridiculous. And why would city council cave under the pressure of these car dealerships? We all know why you're doing this. If you vote for this, just like I said, if you vote for this to pass, and it only applies to these, I think, 5 dealerships that we have in Orange, which is Wilson Automotive, David Wilson, Vicky Murphy. I gave you guys a whole rundown the last live chat. And so if they vote to approve this, it's literally just it's fear mongering, right? Like they're bullying the city into doing that so that they don't fight the Measure Z sales tax, of which we know they have $450,000 that they are going to spend to fight Measure Z and put out all kinds of, beautiful mailers, killing trees, and literally putting lies on here because they're saying Kathy is against the sales tax and she's not. So, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on? So, at City Council, what they said was, between all of them, why wouldn't we include the used car dealerships? It may make sense to do this. It won't make sense if we give them above and beyond the 0.5% that we're going to have on the ballot. If we give them over that amount, then it makes absolutely no sense, because now we're literally using the residents' money to benefit the car dealerships, right? And so Ariana and Ana Gutierrez, Mary Pro Tem Ariana, Councilwoman Ana Gutierrez said, and Dimitru said as well, why wouldn't we include the used car dealerships, right? I mean, how many people are able to just go out and buy a brand new car? And I believe we have 11 used car dealerships. So this can't be biased. This has to be everyone. Oh, Brandy, Voice of OC is reporting the OC auto dealers are now up to $700,000. $700,000. That
Wow.
blows my mind. And what are they going to spend this $700,000 on? And thank you for that. And why aren't they fighting it in Buena Park? They have 9 car dealerships in Buena Park. Why aren't they fighting it there? Right? And there's a 1% tax on the ballot in Buena Park. What is it about Orange? Why Orange? Why are we so special? You know why? Because they all live here. They've got an axe to grind with city council. And so they're going to fight it here to now the tune of $700,000. Anyway, oh, Gabrielle, I love you guys too. Anyway, so I was very proud of city council. They just ripped this thing apart and said, nope, we're actually going to come back after, because it won't even matter if the sales tax doesn't pass. So they didn't cave. They will, after, if Measure Z passes, they will come back and do a study and figure out what that rebate program looks like. But they absolutely want to include all dealerships in Orange so that it's not biased. And hopefully the rebate will be tiered so that, for every $1,000 that you spend, it's $50 back, or rather than, or no, it was 10,000 that you spend, it'd be $50 back, rather than just having a flat $500, which is what the city council or what the car dealerships wanted, which would be probably $250 or $300 above the 5% tax. Anyway, donate the 700,000 to treats in the streets. Exactly. Or tree lighting. Okay. Wilson Automotive has been donating money to things lately. I'm sure you've seen, like by saving concerts in the park or the GoFundMe for the woman that passed away. But I feel like the whole thing is a giant PR stunt. And yeah, I think it's terrible. So there you go. Set it on live. So what are your thoughts about the car dealerships, Garrett, and everything that's going on? Do you have any thoughts on this?
No thoughts.
No thoughts, Brandy. Don't wrap me into your craziness.
No, I guess initially I thought that the used car dealerships were included in that. So that caught me. It's been an interesting ride, I think, with that, because initially the $500 proposed rebate was more than even the sales tax increase in general. So then obviously that had to go back to the drawing board. Now it's all over the place. I don't have too much to say on
it. Okay. The other part about this rebate program, which is also a little ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have ever shopped out a car, but I'm a little ruthless when it comes to shopping out a car. So I tend to bid dealerships against each other. So, I mean, I am. It's just is what it is. But so I actually we purchased my husband's truck in San Bernardino because they gave us the better deal. They came in less expensive. So it's not going to matter if you have an incentive for $250 in Orange if I call San Bernardino and they say, we'll give you $1,000 off, which they did, and delivered the car right to my door. I signed the paperwork online and they gave me $6,000 to trade in my husband's Jeep Grand Cherokee that needed a new transmission that was broken down. Right. I mean, you're just going to bid dealerships up against each other anyway. And another thing the city council said is they did not want the rebate going to the car dealerships for the car dealerships to then pay back the city. They would like to see it, hopefully go to the city and the city would do the rebate program. And they also talked about adding that like they do with Shop Local, where the city refunds you the money directly. So just removing, Wilson Automotive out of it and then also being fair. So I have to say my faith was restored in the council because I was a little nervous on how they were going to vote on this and they all did the right thing. So that was great news. Let's see. SC Fuels and David Wilson is funding the tree lighting ceremony. Yes, they have donated a lot of money and asked me how much money they've given to treats in the streets. 0. But I'm glad I wouldn't have taken their money. I didn't want their money and I would have gladly paid my own money not to take their money. But don't put that on record, Wilson Automotive. I may be calling you next year. Just kidding.
May need you.
I may need you next year when I'm up a creek. Okay. Other things that happened at city council yesterday, besides the basketball courts. We also talked about, there was one more item on here that I wanted to bring your attention to because I think it's important and it can be confusing. So we received grant money in the city of Orange to run police overtime for things like DUIs. So city council approved to adopt or, receive the $375 from the state of California. And what we use that for is all of our DUI checkpoints, and how we get that money is we also use it for other things as well in regards to overtime. So I guess we had some, car clubs doing donuts and circles and driving recklessly. What was it, like in the village parking lot, or was that where it was? So they're able to kind of stake out those sites and use that money in that overtime to help keep our city safe. And it doesn't cost the city anything. And how we receive that is because we have so many. I think last year we had 652 DUIs. And as I mentioned, we have one police officer specifically dedicated to giving out DUI tickets. And he had the highest in the state of California, which was over 300. So I think it's very important. And thank you, state of California, for doing something good for our city. We will take all the grant money that we can get, but it doesn't come out of our general fund. It doesn't affect our budget at all. That's money that's given to us. So they all voted to approve that. And we did have a lot of folks come out at the beginning of city council during public comments that were pretty angry on how the city has handled Measure Z. They feel like there hasn't been enough education, but that's very tricky for the city to do. They can only educate and they cannot promote a tax, so they have to be very careful on how they talk about it. They had a lot of those educational meetings that people weren't going to. I saw on here that somebody would like for me to have more people on here like Garrett, right? So you guys can be at home, sitting on your couch in the comfort of your bed and watch these. And I can help bring some of the folks in the city to you. So I've also asked council member Dimitri to be on here, as well as anyone else that would like to come on here and just inform us on all the things, and so that we can ask you guys questions directly, get to know you guys. Miguel Gonzalez, he's the president of the fire department union, will be coming on here next Wednesday. Just so you guys know, please say a prayer for our firefighters, and just keep them in your thoughts, because we sent 4 of them to Florida to go help with the hurricane. Like I mentioned on Monday, they so the state reimburses us for that. They not only pay for the firefighter to go that goes out and helps, just like when we had the fires recently, but they also pay for the folks here, the firefighters here that are on overtime. And I was schooled on this last night. We actually make a little bit of money on the deal because they also pay for administration fees. So we make a portion of that also. And somebody mentioned on here on Monday that in regards to, people that work for the city and their pensions and getting insurance after they retire, or their health insurance. And it's actually not true. They do not get health insurance when they retire, and they go on to Medicare or Medicaid. So they don't get health insurance after that. Okay, let me answer the question. Miguel may not make it. He's one of the guys who went to Florida as part of the rescue task force. So you guys know Miguel was supposed to be on here with me tonight. And thank you, Garrett, for subbing in. But yeah, so hopefully he will be back by next week. I don't know when he'll be back. He said if he doesn't make it, he can try to join in live with me, because it's so important. He really wants to talk to you guys. I've been helping the firefighter association to pass out flyers, and thank you guys so much. I asked the firefighters, I'm like, hey, I want to pass out some of these yard signs, and can I come pick up 30 and I'll just make a video and see if anybody wants any of these signs? I'm thinking, 30 may be a long shot, but I'm completely out of signs in one day. So I've already requested more signs. Thank you guys so much for supporting this. You guys know how important I think it is and how important I think our public safety is. Let's see. These lives are great. Thank you so much. I love doing them because I want to bring all the information to you guys. Let's see. Do we have any more questions on here? Oh, okay. Dan, I say parking meters, but something a little bit more digital. Yeah, I think we may need parking meters. Good to know. Glad, thanks to see there's still community organizations that will help, even though we are in a deficit. Yes, they definitely are. Do you guys have any more questions for Garrett? I'm trying to think of a hard one, guys. We really got to give it to him, right? Like, let's get the hard questions going here. I guess we've grilled him pretty good already, right? Yeah, federal reimbursement for the firefighters. Yep, that's right. And it's billadoo. So on Monday, I thought it was Bilodeau, the councilman, but it's not. It's billadoo. Let's see. Any other ones on here that we should answer? Okay. Oh, let's scroll down. Let's talk with this no on Measure Z. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this. No on Z. Should send out flyers saying you will get a lemon if you vote on Z. I feel
That's
like
good.
we're already getting a lemon with the car dealerships. But yeah, if you're voting no on Measure Z, I'm glad we all have the right to vote. And I completely respect all of your opinions and input. And I love hearing it all the time, because it helps me to understand why people don't want to do it. And also then I go back and ask all those hard questions, right? Like, why didn't we do the audit? What is going to happen to this money? Will the Orange May Parade be affected? No, Super Paul, it won't. So the Orange May Parade is put on by the Chamber of Commerce every year. Hallelujah. So the May Parade will still happen. Would you support eliminating? Oh, now this is the dumb kicker. Would you support eliminating pensions for city employees?
Me?
That's a you question. Do you want me to answer that? I'm not running for treasurer.
Why don't you start?
I'll start with and saying no. So, here's a weird fact, okay? Uh, People that are under the old pension, which is like the legacy pensions that were, these incredible pensions where they didn't have to pay as much into and they got a lot out of, those are now gone. And eventually that will end because as sad as it is, these people will die, right? So that will eventually go away. And they do need some type of social security, right? So they pay into these pensions, but they don't get nearly as much as they used to under that old legacy deal. So I do think that the pension bond we have now is actually a good thing. It's got a very low interest rate and it's fixed. It's not variable. So I don't know. I'd be curious to look at these pensions and see how much they're making of their actual salary and what that looks like. I guess I would need more information before I really answered that question. But I think a lot of times some city employees, especially if you have a very dangerous job, or you look at how much some of our city employees are getting paid, and I'm not talking about the executives and the managers at the top. I'm talking about the guy at Public Works that's helping to come and pick up all the trash. And that guy is usually not making a lot of money. And I could see why it would be hard to hire for that job, just like we saw with the crossing guards, right? Paying them $18, $19 an hour. That pension is definitely an incentive. And I don't know if you guys saw that Tustin Police Department. I love you guys. I love your Instagram. You guys go ham on people. But the Tustin Police Department literally just posted $40,000 incentive hire on bonus. And then in the comments wrote, somebody said, "Oh, why are you posting this?" And they responded and said, "We are trying to hire officers from local cities." It's like, oh, that's us. You literally just said us. So it's very hard to retain good people if they have incentive bonuses like that and they pay so much more. Some of these jobs pay 10, 20% more a year. How are we going to keep good folks here in Orange? We have to incentivize them some way. Um, anyway, I didn't let you answer any of that. So, what do you think
Well
about the
said.
pension, Garrett? No, not well said.
Um, the pension topic is an interesting one. I mean, specifically the bonds. There's a lot of documentation on it. I'm not the expert by any means. I have talked to a few various people about it, and I mean, I agree. I think at the moment it is something that is somewhat working in our favor. Pensions themselves are obviously unique financial instruments, and as Brandy said, like in years past, they have been more lucrative than how they are now. If you join the police force now, your pension's going to be much different than it was if you joined 20 years ago. So all in all, they're already kind of unique to just as they stand today. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think maybe some more insight to it would be helpful for the public, just because it is a complicated uh, all of the stuff about it and how they work and how it's affected by our stock market and how the rates go up and down and how they change and there's deferred payments and et cetera, et cetera. Um, so yeah, I think some more knowledge might be a benefit for the community, just because there's kind of a lot going on. But yeah, I would need some more before I officially answered that one.
Yeah, I think so too. I need some more
Yeah.
information on this, but I just like this guy saying here, City of Orange field staff are the lowest paid workers out of all surrounding cities, right? Pretty sad. Um, let's see. Here's a question. Garrett, what will be the first thing you do to make improvements if elected? Any particular cuts to be able to retain our police officers and fire department? Is that possible?
Um, Interesting one. I know between Dan and the council, they tasked every department to come up with a 10% number and what that looked like. Um, I think kind of in addition to that, another layer would maybe be looking at some of the efficiencies and other things that kind of come down from the top, and how projects are managed and how the day to days look. That may be able to pull out some other funding depending on how that looks from a financial perspective, to hopefully maybe give a little bit more to those other groups that you mentioned. It's, I mean, all in all, the situation that we're currently in is unique and so many variables and moving parts. So it's hard to say one specific cut would make one other thing better. Um, but I think there's definitely opportunities, and hopefully, we have the right people in place to do the research and present it, and hopefully get something passed and have it be successful.
And that's why we got to get you behind the closed door, right? I ask
That's
Garrett these
right.
questions all the time and we can't get answers, even though we're doing public records requests all the time. He did a public records request on the entire Mills Act. So that was a whopper, but we've been looking at all that too. Um, okay, let's see. This will you do an analysis to see if it is cost effective to outsource the OC sheriff to patrol the city either fully or partially?
Um, yeah,
I
it's
guess you
funny that
could.
came up. It was like a couple weeks ago. That topic came up in a conversation. Someone asked, "Why do we have our own private Orange Police Department?" And like, other cities in Orange County, they use Orange County sheriffs. And I was like, it's a good question. I think it's been that way for so long. I think I don't know, don't quote me on the exact years, but like 20 plus years it's been, or might even be 40. Um, I think there's definitely reasons. I don't know all the exacts. I think from a control perspective, that changes things if you outsource it to the sheriff's department. Financially, yes, it might be better, but you may lose some of the patrol power, some of the added officers that we have on the streets. So you need to look at, all those safety concerns, how many officers per citizen. There's a lot of variables in that. I'm almost certain that there has been an analysis done. I don't know if anything's been done recently, but it is, and it's funny because that just came up, like I said, a couple weeks ago. But I think something that maybe they're looking into to a certain degree just to see what the new numbers are. But yeah, I mean, could there be cost savings? Possibly, but then you may have less of something else. So it's kind of a unique situation for that as well.
I also heard, which I put call into Santa Ana Police Department because I'm really curious about this, but I know that they switched to the OC sheriff and they've been having issues because initially there was a big cost savings and now it's more expensive for them because just like anything, you want to win a bid, right? People do this all the time. This is how I win orders in packaging is that, initially you come in very low and then you have price increase, and price increase because you've already won the business. They're locked in. And so you end up spending more money in the long run. So I want to see what those numbers were when they had their own police department and what they're currently paying. I'd be very curious to see that. Get on
Yeah,
it, Garrett. No.
on it.
um, okay. Any other questions for Garrett on here? What else do we got? You guys have some great question. Okay. What is the number one thing to tackle as treasurer?
Ooh, um, it's a good one. I think
The
now,
budget, right? Like breaking down the entire thing and where we're spending money line item by line item.
yeah, I think now more than ever, probably something relating to that, just from a transparency perspective, and sharing who's accountable for what and how that may or may not have had gaps recently or in years past, or may potentially cause gaps in the future. I think, yeah, the biggest thing would be digging into that and providing more insights, because it is shared obviously, and there's been various budget meetings and we've alluded to that earlier, but I think at a different level, and being able to talk with all of you and make sure that you understand it, and it's something that's not hundreds of pages, or I think the budget's like 374 pages or something. So a lot of, I think that's kind of the one thing is the transparency and accountability, and then just being present, like I mentioned earlier, to make sure that my face is there and that I'm able to answer questions, respond to emails, answer phone calls. But that's probably, I know, the thing on most people's mind. Aside from economic development, probably getting down that space too. But yeah, that's probably where I would start.
Okay, we're getting so many great questions on here, and I want to address something. You guys know where I stand on our Orange Police Department. So when I started this page, I started it because we had so much crime in our neighborhood. And that's when I raged out and went to the city. I said, what do I do? And called the police department. They helped me to start a neighborhood watch. And my husband, first things first, he said, why would you have the police in our house? You don't invite the police over here. Sorry, calling him out. But he said, I'm a big tattooed Latin man. You don't invite the police to our house. Anyway, I said, no, absolutely not. I want every single police officer in this city to know my baby's names. If something happens, I want them at my house in 2 minutes. You guys know me, I'm such a Karen, right? And he was wholeheartedly against this, but now, I mean, guess what? A lot of these officers know my baby's names. I know who to call in a hurry. I'm used to dealing with the same people. They know us. They're invested in us. It is so important for me. I absolutely would never switch. Nothing against the OC sheriff. My mom's in an unincorporated area of Tustin. They have OC sheriff. I'm sure they do a fine job for them, but there is no way I would ever cut our Orange PD. They're so invested in us and so wonderful. They truly care. So, that's where I stand on that. And I see a lot of folks are commenting in regards to Chapman and how UCI has their own police department, and a lot of large schools do have their own police department. Chapman has Chapman Security, but because they don't carry any weapons, they call the police department for everything, right? If something goes down, they're calling the police and cannot handle it themselves. But exciting news, guys. So I just heard that the city just met with Chapman again. And when they originally met with them, months ago when all of this started, it was a very hard no on putting a some type of safety fee, which Chapman wouldn't pay for, the student would pay for, right? As one of their 5 million fees and their $80,000 a year tuition. And now they have all these new dorms that they've just opened. They're making all that additional money. So I heard that they were actually open to it this time and are wanting to work with the city, which would be so incredible. If Chapman had a student safety fee on there, that they didn't pay for, imagine how great it would make them look. We support the city, we support safety services, we're here as a member of the community. Imagine how many people, I mean, myself included, it would really shut me up, right? I would stop complaining so much about, me feeling like they're taking advantage of the city, that they do a lot of great things, but they're completely taking advantage. And I feel like the residents are paying for their safety services, right? And we're broke. Also, last night at City Council, Santiago Canyon College came out. They announced their treats in the streets and everything, or their trunk or treat that they're doing, which I shared to stories. But they have incredible programs at SEC. And guess what their student population is? It blew my mind. 31,500 students. 31,000 students. And do we ever hear a peep out of any of these students? No. You know why? Because a lot of these students are probably residents and kids from Orange living with in their parents' home, or and they're over off to that side, right? It's not here where it's, very dense. And they're supposed to have 8,600 students according to their specific plan, but they actually have what is it? Over 10,000. When you talk to any of them, they say, "Oh, we have 10,000 students." That doesn't include city staff. So our population fluctuates greatly. They're here 9 months out of the year, and you see it in the summer, which is not great for the businesses, right? Like, they do spend a lot of money in Old Town, which is great, or a lot of money in the city of Orange. But wouldn't it be great if we really did feel like Chapman was more of a partner to the city and willing to put forth that safety fee? Would be incredible. Let's see. Maybe Chapman should outsource UCI Police, since UCI Police has authority within the state. Maybe they could hire their own police. I've said it before. If they have 10,000 students and we have approximately one police officer for every 10,000 people in the city of Orange, or no, we have one police officer on for every 10,000 people. So we should have one police officer on at all times just for Chapman students. They should pay for one police officer at least. Anyway, that's all just my opinion. Yes, SEC is a great college and my babies are going to go there. I'm a big proponent of community college. Let's see. Any other questions? Although, to be fair, a bunch of SEC students likely commute as well. Yes, they probably do commute. I lived in where was I living at the time? I was living in Costa Mesa, and I was commuting and taking classes at SEC, and it's a beautiful campus. They have so many programs. They now teach drone classes too. They have so many cool programs at SEC. And it's so cheap. Anyway, okay, I want to get to the last of your guys' questions. I know this is going so long, per usual. Let's see. Any other questions on here from you guys? Let's see on YouTube. We got a lot. Nope. I think that's about it. So, there's so much going on this weekend. Let's see. A safety fee seems counterintuitive since the Orange Police Department is the largest spend category in the city budget already. Well, guess what? It's the largest spend because we don't have any money coming in from any other sources. So if they were to pay a student safety fee into police, which that money comes out of the general fund, we could then allocate money from the general fund into other things like city services and maintenance and the senior center and the youth programs and all the things that we need to do in our city. We wouldn't have to give much money into the police budget. That's why it's so large. If we could get the hospitals to contribute, now that would be amazing. That would be something. Okay, so happening this weekend. Tomorrow, you guys know, I will be at the Masonic Lodge in Old Town Orange. The party starts at 6 o'clock. They're gonna have a haunted house and today's Wednesday. Oh my gosh, I lost my mind, you guys. Sorry. It's on Friday at 6 p.m. And they're gonna have a haunted house and a really gigantic, amazing charcuterie with skeletons and stuff everywhere and a band. And anyway, it's going to be a great event and you're all going to get to go into the Masonic Lodge. So super cool. And let's see. Oh, Demetrius, safety fee is for fire paramedics too, which is used heavily by Chapman. Yes, you guys all heard Chief Dimitropoulos say that in 2022, they had 300 calls to Chapman campus, 270 to 300, of which 30% of those went to collections. So there you have it. Also happening this Saturday, don't forget, is Love Orange Day. I will be at Orange High School, so I'm going to stay up all night and party with the Masons, and then I'm waking up early at 6:30 a.m. to be at Love Orange at Orange High School. I hope to see you guys there. The kickoff starts at 7:30. You'll get a free Love Orange shirt, and we have volunteer projects going on all around the city. The Assistance League and the Orange Blossoms are also doing their boutique Noel. They have so much cute stuff in there. The Women's Club is doing their Christmas and holiday boutique at the Women's Club as well. And then Orange Blossoms has Orange Toberfest happening at Chapman Crafted right after that. There's the Relentless Pro Wrestling going on Saturday night. I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but there's literally like 30 things happening in the city of Orange on Saturday. So I hope to see you guys at one of them. But mostly the Halloween ball for the Masons. That's the one I'm the most excited about. And I have a gigantic, unicorn headdress that I'm so excited to wear that my friend Lady Roxanne Lee made me. Shout out to Lady Roxanne Lee, Wigs of Wonder. Orange is a treasure to be treasured. It sure is. You are so welcome for hosting. As always, if you guys have questions, please leave them in the comments. And I'm so happy to get with Garrett and have him answer you. He is on Instagram. If you look up Orange Garrett, that's him. And I will, if Instagram lets me collaborate with him on this. Oh yeah, definitely will. So I'll be collaborating. Orange Garrett. Yep, smithfortreasure.com. If you guys would like to donate to his campaign, of course. I'm going to be running around the city. It's so crazy that we have all the city council members are running unopposed, and we have to fight it out for city treasurer. So, but here we are. We're going to fight the good fight. And anything else you'd like to say, Garrett, before we hop off? Short little plug.
No, yeah, I mean, I appreciate the time. I think this was beneficial. And as Brandy mentioned, yeah, check out the website, Smith, number4treasure.com. And you can email me or, ask any questions there. I really love the support. And, again, I'm looking forward to using the last decade plus of financial experience and working with all of you as the taxpayers and local citizens and friends and some family to help Orange get back to what we all know and love. So appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. Always. I got you, Garrett Smith, all the way. Garrett, all the way. Okay, you're so welcome for the information and insight. And yes, Garrett Smith for Treasure 2024. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. Good night.
Good night.
Give him away.
Oh.